Good morning, how are you? You ready for a road trip? Yeah, flight leaves at 11 o'clock. Yep, 4 hours or so. Calgary. Okay. Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna bring one tool. Hopefully we don't need any more. So I've got it here in front of me. All right, we'll see you in a little bit. Talk to you later. Bye. All right, good morning, guys. It's Tuesday, August the 5th, and just coming up to 6:30 a.m. And we're on a bit of a road trip, as you can see from the previous video segment. Lynn and I are off on an adventure today, a weeks-long adventure. We are flying out to Calgary, Alberta, and picking up a new car, let's call it. We won't call it a project, let's call it a car. At least we hope it's not a project. I've bought this car sight unseen, technically. I did have a local friend of mine, Sean, have a look at the car for me, and seems to look okay. So I've gone ahead and purchased the car with the intent of flying out to Calgary and driving it 7 days back to Ontario. I think it's about 52 hours worth of driving. It's about between 4,500 and 5,000 kilometers to drive back home. So it's definitely going to be a bit of an adventure. I'm not sure what we're going to encounter along the way. That's part of the adventure, I guess. Anyway, our flight leaves this morning at 11 a.m. Our Uber to the airport picks us up at 7:45 a.m. So I'm just waiting for Lynn to arrive, probably within the next hour, and then we'll be on our way. All right, let me give you a little bit of a backstory to the adventure. So today is the first day of my vacation. I've got 2 weeks off, and I decided a few months ago that I wanted to do something fun for my vacation. I didn't want to stay home. So originally we thought that we might just jump in the cars and do a non-planned adventure, let's call it. Just jump in the cars, myself, Lynn, maybe Nick, and a buddy of mine from university, John. Might just jump in the cars and head to the East Coast. And like I said, not make any plans, no hotel plans, just drive as far as we want, stop along the way, and maybe hit the Cabot Trail, nice scenic drive, and head home after about, a week's worth of driving. So that was plan A. Then I started thinking about plan B. And this came into being within the last probably 2 to 3 weeks. And I thought about doing something a little bit different, even more different than that. I thought about doing more of a sort of a Vice Grip Garage. If you watch Vice Grip Garage, he does sort of rescues. He'll actually fly or drive into locations, rescue a car, and then drive it back a number of miles. And I thought that might be an interesting prospect to do. So we started looking into options as far as that was concerned. So I was looking for a longish drive. So I basically scoured the country for what I thought looked to be good and interesting projects for me. And I originally started looking at Triumphs, and I found a Triumph TR7 actually in Victoria, BC, so on the west coast of Canada. So that would be quite a drive. That'd probably be a 7-day drive to get back home. So I think it was either a 76 or 77 Victory Edition hardtop with the Webasto rollback roof. Maybe I'll put a picture in here so you can see the car. So the car was listed on Marketplace at, I think, $4,000. It was a really original low mileage car. I think 23,000 original miles, and hadn't been driven in about 20 years. So it was going to require a couple of days of work to get it back up and running and back on the road. Needed new tires, of course, fuel, all the hydraulics needed to go through, radiator hoses, belts, etc., to get it safe for the journey. So that was my first attempt at buying a car on the other side of the country. Unfortunately, I made an offer and it was rejected because apparently he'd had 2 hour higher offers for the car, so I didn't pursue that any further. So that deal fell through. And I started looking for some other cars, found a TR8, actually an injected 81 TR8 in Vernon, BC, British Columbia. And I thought that would be a fun drive on the way back. And then I thought to myself, well, I've already got 2 TR8s. I don't really need a third TR8. So we put the kibosh on that one as well. So then I started looking at other options and basically started doing sort of a national search from coast to coast on Marketplace and just typed in the words convertible. So what I started doing on Marketplace is I just moved over to the east coast of Canada and put in I think it's a 400-kilometer radius we can do on Marketplace. So I started in Halifax, put the 400-kilometer radius and typed in convertibles to see what options I could get there. And I did the same for Central Canada and for Western Canada and came up with a bunch of different options as far as convertibles are concerned. I want to kind of get into diversifying my fleet a little bit, so I wasn't really tied to having another Triumph. I definitely didn't want another TR6 since I have 3 of those already. Didn't want another TR3 since I have 2 of those. I have 2 TR8s. TR4 might have been an interesting option. Maybe a TR4A would have been good to add to the collection. Of course, I didn't have a TR7 in the collection, so that was why I was maybe going after that, especially since it was a hardtop TR7. That might have been different. Anyway, we weren't going to limit ourselves to just Triumphs, so we expanded our search just to look for convertibles. All right, by searching for convertibles, that of course gave us a ton of different options to look through, and we were looking for something that sort of piqued our interest, number one. Number two, fit within the budget, and number three, had a chance of making a fairly long journey home without too much work or any work. So we started looking at everything basically from 50s vehicles right up through to the muscle car area. I was a muscle car guy before I got into the British stuff, so things like 69 Firebird convertible, for example. We found one that was kind of interesting. We found a couple other interesting options. I wasn't necessarily restricting myself to years either, but I wanted to get something that was fairly old. But like I said, all options were on the table. All right, to make it a long story short, we found something in Calgary, Alberta. And like I said, we're just about to head out there now and see it with our own eyes for the first time. Again, bought pretty much over the internet, which is never probably a good thing to do. Like I mentioned, I did have a buddy of mine go and take a quick look at it to make sure, first of all, it wasn't a scam. And second of all, to make sure that it was as advertised and it did check out. So I'm not going to tell you what the car is. So you basically have a little bit of time here to kind of wonder what we're getting. I mean, it's wide open convertible. That's basically all you got to go on. So again, you guys might be excited for the purchase. You might not be, but regardless, we're going out there. We're driving it home. We're hopefully driving it home all the way. Plan B, you haul into trailer.
Where are we going?
All right, made it to the airport. Lynn's getting topped up here. Get some breakfast. Going to Calgary, I've already mentioned. But I thought I'd actually mention one more thing to maybe narrow your thought process down a little bit as far as the vehicle is concerned since I last mentioned it. So I should say that it's more than 20 years old and still a convertible, as we discussed. And possibly, pretty close to collector car status since it's going to be insured with Haggerty. So maybe that'll help you out a little bit as far as you're trying to narrow down what we're picking up.
I only have one question.
Sure.
How are we attaching the trailer to the airplane?
No trailer required. We hope.
We're driving it?
Yeah, at least for the first part of the trip, no trailer required. Anyway, hopefully we make it out of Calgary. All right, getting close now. 12 minutes to our destination. Pick the car up. So we're in Alberta. In our Uber on the way. All right, it's about, 3 o'clock Calgary time.
Yeah.
We made it to our first destination. Actually, our first destination was to pick up the car, but our second destination was to Canadian Tire to pick up some stuff for the road, to stuff we thought we might need that we didn't want to bring with us in our carry-on baggage. So, ready for the big reveal? It's going to be a shocker. So let's see whose guess was right, if anybody. You're all going to lie to me anyway. All right, there we go. So we got ourselves a Porsche. This is a 2002 Boxster. It's not the S, it's just the base model. So Boxster, it's a 986 designation. So it's a 2.7 flat six. Mid-engine. Probably I'm going to say this out loud, probably the best value sports car on the market at this particular point in time. For what I paid for this, you could probably get a half decent running Project TR6. So anyway, this is going to be our steed for the next 7 days. Hopefully it gets us home okay. We do have a few tools with this, plus a couple of electronic gadgets that maybe we'll go over at a later day. So it's got some challenges, this car, but overall it's not too bad. It's got a few scuffs here and there and some touch-ups that need to be done. Again, for what I paid for this car, I'm not expecting it to be perfect, and nor is it perfect, but it's pretty good. Seems to drive pretty well. It does have some paint flaws here and there that I'm hoping some of this stuff will buff out. If not, we can fix it. Has some curb rash on the rims, and they need to be cleaned really badly. The top has a small tear that's been repaired in the plastic rear glass with some clear duct tape. It does have a little bit of hail damage here. I think Calgary is famous for hail, so I see a little bit of hail damage here on the trunk lid. So, but other than that, not bad. Does have high kilometers on it. It's got leather interior. It is a 5-speed, but that's pretty much about it. So, kind of traditional looking gauges, as you can see. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of an adventure. Hopefully we'll make it home. So far so good. So I think the next stop for us is going to be lunch. We're starving. So we'll go for lunch, and then I think we'll check into the hotel, and then we'll probably go visit a couple of friends of ours tonight, maybe for a refreshment or two. All right, that's it for now. There's the big reveal. 2002 Porsche Boxster 986. All right, we made it to our evening stop with Sean and Dave here. Sean, in the flowery shirt up there, is the guy who did the inspection on the car for me. Dave lives a couple houses down. Dave has was it a last day production? Yep. TR6, red one. Yep. Sean is triumphless now. He's gone Jaguar and let's say a MGB, but a V8 MGB. That we'll probably have a look at later. So, but if you look back, I'll put a link to a video up in the corner here. When I was here, I don't even know how many years that was. 5, 10. We took the 250 out for a spin with your Jag, your TR6, and somebody else I think joined us too. Angus, yeah, as well. So that was a really good day. Anyway, we've got Elin working here, of course, over a beer, putting the Ontario plates on the front of the car because Alberta doesn't require plates on the front of the car. So having to do a little mock-up here to get these plates put on. But I'm sure we'll get stopped once we get back to Ontario if we... So we got to get these plates on at some point. So what better way to do it than over a beer in the driveway? All right, keep working.